lot of things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world making. So I just want to get it over with and, accept my guilty plea. I'm ready to get over it.
Charleston White was practically throwing a party online when news broke about Boosie's plea deal. While fans were sending prayers and support to the Louisiana rapper, Charleston jumped on Instagram Live, grinning from ear to ear like Christmas morning came early. But here's the concerning part. This wasn't just regular internet trolling. This man made some extremely harsh comments about Boosie's future. And when you dig deeper into why Charleston has such strong feelings against Boosie, you'll discover some surprising details about both their pasts that explain everything. The whole internet got it wrong when they started saying Boosie was facing 10 years. That number came from speculation and worst-case scenarios that blogs ran with. The reality is much different. And honestly, it makes Charleston's celebration even more concerning. According to federal court documents, Boosie's plea deal has prosecutors recommending just 2 years in a correctional facility, plus 3 years of supervised release. That's still serious time, but nowhere near the decade everyone was talking about. The case stems from a June 2023 traffic stop in San Diego, where cops found 2 pieces in his vehicle. Since Boosie's a previously convicted individual, possession of those items became a federal charge that could have sent him away for much longer if he'd fought it and lost. What made this case particularly brutal for Boosie was the emotional roller coaster. The charges were initially dismissed in July 2024 after his lawyers successfully argued Second Amendment issues around nonviolent individuals and possession rights.
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor, and the case got dropped.
For a brief moment, it looked like Boosie had dodged another bullet. Fans celebrated, and he seemed ready to move forward with his life and music. But then prosecutors came back harder, refiling the case with modifications to address the legal issues that got it dismissed the first time. That's when Boosie broke down and made his decision. He posted on social media admitting he was tired of fighting, saying God doesn't make mistakes, and accepting his fate. Charleston White's reaction to all this was absolutely shocking. The moment Boosie's plea deal hit the blogs, Charleston went live looking like he just won the lottery. He started his stream by saying God is good, and then immediately launched into a rant about how he always knew Boosie would end up locked up. But what really surprised people was when he made comments about Boosie's newborn baby not being able to see their father for years. That's when viewers realized this wasn't just trolling, this was personal animosity. Charleston even went as far as making extremely harsh statements about Boosie's future. For most people, watching someone potentially lose years of their life would bring out some compassion, but Charleston treated it like his personal victory. The beef between these two goes way deeper than most people realize. It all started back in late 2022, when Kanye West was making headlines with his White Lives Matter shirt controversy. Boosie spoke out against Kanye, saying he was disrespecting black people, which most of the hip-hop community agreed with. But Charleston White saw an opportunity to start drama. Instead of just disagreeing with Boosie's stance, Charleston decided to make it personal by dragging Boosie's son Tootie into the conversation. He called Tootie and T.I.'s son King Harris ugly, predicted they'd end up in jail, and even said they couldn't fight. This crossed a line that shocked even Charleston's regular viewers, because most people, no matter how much beef they have, don't attack someone's children. Boosie's response to Charleston's attacks was surprisingly restrained, and now we know why. During an interview, Boosie explained that he couldn't really express his opinions on Charleston because speaking his mind could easily send him to prison.
I ain't really got no opinion on him because, my opinion can send me to prison. Certain people you can't really express opinions on, and he one of those because you might end up in prison.
He specifically mentioned that once someone threatens your kids, they're completely out of line, but he wasn't going to risk his freedom by responding the way people expected. This showed incredible self-control from someone known for not backing down from beef, but it also revealed how calculated Charleston's attacks were. He knew exactly how to push Boosie's buttons, while staying just safe enough to avoid serious retaliation.
I'm gonna put your in jail, waiting for the FBI to send me the right kind of number, because I'm finna make a report on.
The situation escalated dramatically in early 2023 when Charleston started making even more concerning statements about Boosie's health and family. After Boosie's son Tootie clapped back at Charleston on social media, Charleston's response was completely inappropriate. He went live and made disturbing comments about Boosie's health conditions, even making jokes about medical supplies. This was beyond trolling. This showed a level of animosity that crossed all boundaries. Then things got even more serious when Tootie was detained later that month on possession charges. and Charleston immediately claimed involvement in the situation. He bragged about contacting authorities and providing information to law enforcement. He even made claims that police were already monitoring Tootie due to allegations about Boosie's past activities. What makes Charleston's involvement in contacting authorities so significant is his own complicated history with law enforcement. Back in 1991, when Charleston was just 16 years old, he was involved in a serious incident with several other teenagers. During this incident, one of his associates committed a tragic act that resulted in someone losing their life. When it came time for court proceedings, Charleston made a decision that would define how many people viewed him forever. He chose to cooperate with authorities and provide testimony. Recent footage of that testimony became public, showing teenage Charleston in court describing what happened during the incident. In certain cultural circles, this type of cooperation with law enforcement is viewed very negatively, regardless of the circumstances or Charleston's age at the time. Charleston has never avoided discussing his decision to provide testimony. In fact, he's defended it multiple times, saying he was raised to tell the truth and that he's never lived by any unofficial codes. He argues that he was just a young person in court who chose to be honest rather than protect someone who had committed a serious crime. While some people understand his position, others see it as evidence that Charleston has always been willing to work with law enforcement when it benefits him. This history becomes important when you consider Boosie's decision to avoid trial, because having someone with Charleston's background and public animosity potentially involved in your case would be concerning for any defendant. The timing of Charleston's public statements throughout 2023 and 2024 seemed almost calculated. Every time Boosie had a legal setback or faced new challenges, Charleston would appear online celebrating like it was a personal victory. When Boosie was detained in San Diego after a court hearing, Charleston went on Instagram Live making religious comparisons, suggesting that Boosie's situation was part of some divine plan. He transformed Boosie's legal struggles into content for his streams, making it seem like these troubles were consequences for past actions. Fans couldn't tell if Charleston was being genuine with his religious references or just using them to mask his celebration, but either way, it felt deeply inappropriate. The beef even started affecting other people's business decisions. When streamer Aiden Ross was supposed to have Boosie on his show, Boosie declined because he didn't want to deal with Charleston White's drama. Aiden then flipped the story, claiming he had turned Boosie down out of loyalty to Charleston. This lie spread across social media until DJ Vlad stepped in to correct the record, pointing out how ridiculous it was for someone to choose Charleston White over Boosie, especially given Charleston's history of controversial statements. The incident showed just how far Charleston's shadow had spread in hip-hop culture, with people using his name for clout even when it meant spreading false information. Throughout 2024, Charleston kept escalating his attacks on Boosie. He claimed that Boosie had warned promoters not to book him for shows, which led to another rant where Charleston threatened to contact federal authorities. He even brought up Boosie's health issues again, trying to make his insults sting more. Charleston bragged about having FBI contact information and being ready to file reports against Boosie for alleged threats, even though he never provided any proof of these supposed threats. The pattern was clear. Every few months, Charleston would find a new angle to attack Boosie, keeping their beef in the headlines and maintaining his relevance in hip-hop discussions. Now, here's where things get really interesting, and it might explain the real reason Boosie chose to take that plea deal instead of fighting in court. Consider if Charleston White had somehow managed to insert himself into Boosie's federal case as a witness or even just as a disruptive presence in the courtroom. Given Charleston's history of working with law enforcement and his public statements about wanting to see Boosie face consequences, it's not unreasonable to think he would have tried to provide testimony or information to prosecutors if given the opportunity. Charleston has never been shy about his willingness to contact authorities or work with the system when it suits his agenda. The last thing Boosie probably wanted was to sit through a trial where Charleston White might show up making dramatic statements or creating disruptions. Can you imagine Charleston in a federal courtroom, making commentary, creating distractions, and then immediately going live afterward to discuss his involvement? That's exactly the kind of situation Charleston might create, and it's exactly the kind of risk Boosie couldn't afford to take. By accepting the plea deal, Boosie avoided the possibility of Charleston turning his trial into a media spectacle and potentially affecting the outcome with his presence or statements. Charleston's celebration of Boosie's plea deal feels like the culmination of years of ongoing conflict. From targeting Boosie's family to celebrating his legal troubles to threatening to contact federal authorities, Charleston has been engaged in what appears to be a long-term campaign designed to create pressure for Boosie both mentally and legally. His loud reaction to the plea deal isn't just content creation, it's a victory celebration for someone who genuinely believes he played a role in this outcome. Whether that's actually true or just Charleston's perspective, the impact on Boosie has been documented. Multiple sources have reported that Boosie has been receiving communications from people asking about his legal situation, adding additional stress during an already difficult time. The community has mixed reactions on how to view this entire situation. Some people see Charleston as someone who used public pressure and legal threats to help influence Boosie toward accepting a plea deal. Others view him as just another internet personality who happened to be vocal at the right time, and is now taking credit for something that would have happened anyway. But regardless of how much influence Charleston actually had on the outcome, his celebration of another person's legal troubles feels particularly concerning given the broader issues that affect many people in similar situations. What makes this story even more complex is the question of whether Charleston's attacks actually influenced Boosie's legal strategy. Defense attorneys often advise clients to avoid anything that could create negative publicity or additional scrutiny during ongoing cases. Having someone like Charleston White constantly attacking you in public, threatening to involve federal authorities, and bragging about getting family members arrested would definitely complicate any legal situation. It's possible that Boosie's lawyers factored Charleston's behavior into their recommendation to take the plea deal rather than risk a trial where emotions and public perception could play a role. Right now, Boosie is facing the reality of potentially spending 2 years away from his family and career, while Charleston White continues his victory celebration online. The contrast is striking. One man preparing for the consequences of his choices, while another man treats those consequences like entertainment. Boosie's fans continue supporting him and hoping for the best possible outcome at sentencing, but Charleston's followers seem to be enjoying the spectacle of his downfall. It raises uncomfortable questions about how we consume and react to other people's legal troubles, especially when those troubles involve real families and real consequences. The most concerning aspect of Charleston's behavior throughout this entire conflict has been his complete lack of empathy. Even people who disagree with Boosie or have issues with his past actions usually show some basic human compassion when someone is facing years away from their family. But Charleston has treated Boosie's legal troubles like entertainment, where he's rooting for the worst possible outcome. His harsh comments about Boosie's future cross the line from content creation into something much more personal, revealing a level of animosity that goes beyond normal internet conflict. Looking at everything that's happened between these two, from the initial Kanye controversy to the targeting of family members to the legal threats and celebrations, it's clear that Charleston White has made disrupting Boosie's peace of mind into a personal mission. Whether he actually influenced the legal outcome or just got fortunate with his timing, Charleston is now claiming victory in a conflict that he turned into ongoing public drama. The unfortunate reality is that while Charleston creates content online, Boosie's family, including that newborn baby Charleston mentioned, will be the ones dealing with the actual consequences of this situation. As Boosie prepares for sentencing and the possibility of 2 years away from his family, Charleston White shows no signs of reducing his public commentary. If anything, he seems energized by what he sees as validation of everything he's been saying about Boosie for the past few years. The question now becomes whether Charleston will finally move on to other targets or continue his commentary about Boosie even while he's serving his sentence. Based on his behavior so far, don't expect him to show any restraint or basic human decency. For Charleston White, Boosie's legal situation isn't a serious matter, it's the ultimate content opportunity. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of the other celebrity gossip. Thanks for watching.